Venom is a story about two broken outcast creatures finding an unlikely home in each other. Venom is a creature stranded far from his world, searching for somewhere to belong. The story of Venom begins not on Earth, but in the cold vacuum of space. A spacecraft belonging to the Life Foundation, a powerful, privately funded scientific organization, returns from a deep space mission carrying 4 extraterrestrial organisms. These creatures, classified as symbiotes, are parasitic life forms that require a living host body to survive. The mission, overseen by the Foundation's enigmatic and ruthless CEO Carlton Drake, was intended to bring these alien beings back to Earth for study. However, during re-entry, something goes wrong. The spacecraft crashes, and the fate of its precious cargo is immediately thrown into question. A rapid response team is dispatched to the crash site to assess the damage and secure the symbiotes.
Did we at least retrieve all of the samples?
No, we have 3 of them.
Upon arrival, investigators discover that at least one of the 4 organisms has already escaped containment. It has found a host, a human survivor at the scene, and begun using that person's body as a vessel. The parasite takes full control of its new host, overriding the person's will and driving them forward with singular purpose. Displaying unnatural strength and behavior, the infected individual hijacks an ambulance that had been called to the site. A passenger inside the vehicle begins to behave erratically. And the driver loses control. The ambulance crashes, and the infected woman flees, making her way toward the United States, toward the very city where the Life Foundation is headquartered. One of the 4 symbiotes is now loose on American soil. The other 3 remain in the Foundation's custody. Meanwhile, we are introduced to Eddie Brock. He is a tenacious and well-regarded investigative journalist working for a media company in San Francisco. Eddie is talented, passionate, and deeply committed to the truth. He lives with his fiancée, Anne Wine, a successful attorney who works, in a roundabout way, in proximity to the Life Foundation's legal affairs. By all appearances, Eddie's life is on an upward trajectory. He has professional success, a loving relationship, and the respect of his editors. That all changes the morning his boss assigns him what appears to be a career-defining opportunity, an exclusive interview with Carlton Drake himself. The Life Foundation has been making headlines with its ambitious space exploration program and its claims of pioneering discoveries for the betterment of humanity. Drake is a public figure who rarely grants one-on-one interviews, and Eddie's boss makes the parameters of the assignment explicitly clear.
Now, you're just gonna ask him about his space program, you're gonna thank him, and you're gonna bid him a nice day.
Drake is wealthy, influential, and dangerous. Upsetting him would have consequences for everyone.
There isn't a better investigative reporter working today, but no one is above the network. So do me a favor, Eddie, don't start your shit again.
Eddie agrees to the terms and heads home to prepare. That night, while sitting in his apartment, he notices that Anne's laptop has been left open. On the screen is an email from a Life Foundation employee addressed to Anne. It is a desperate, urgent warning. The employee reveals that the Foundation is conducting illegal and lethal experiments on human subjects, using vulnerable people as unwilling test subjects in their symbiote research. The email contains detailed documentation, descriptions of the parasites, their alien origins, the experiments being performed on living humans, and the deaths that have resulted. The employee begs Anne to quit and distance herself from the organization before she becomes implicated, or worse, targeted. Eddie reads every word. He knows he should not have read it. He also knows that he cannot ignore what he has just learned. With an interview scheduled for the very next morning with the man responsible for these alleged atrocities, Eddie makes a decision that will cost him everything. He decides to go off script. The following morning, Eddie arrives at the Life Foundation's headquarters for the interview with Carlton Drake. The early portion of the conversation goes exactly as planned. Eddie asks about the Foundation's discoveries, its missions, and its goals. Drake is charming, confident, and comfortable. He is a man accustomed to controlling every room he enters. Then Eddie changes the topic.
You recruit the most vulnerable of us to volunteer for tests that more often than not end up killing people.
He begins asking pointed, specific questions about the human experiments. He references details that could only have come from internal documents. Drake's demeanor changes instantly. The warmth drains from his face, and he terminates the interview on the spot, ordering Eddie to leave the premises immediately. The fallout is swift and severe. Eddie returns to his office only to be called into his boss's office, where he is fired on the spot. His willingness to pursue unauthorized lines of questioning has made him a liability. Worse still, Anne learns what happened. When Eddie goes to her to explain, She is devastated. Not only has she lost her job as a result of the breach of client confidentiality, but she has also had her trust violated. She ends the engagement and tells Eddie their relationship is over. He has destroyed both their lives in a single morning. And for what? A story he never even got to publish. The scene changes. It is raining at night, and we see the infected woman. The parasite is inside her body. She starts eating food she finds, but then some bad men approach her. In the weeks that follow, Eddie descends into a kind of professional and emotional ruin. He loses his apartment, loses his reputation, and loses any sense of direction. He wanders the city as a shadow of his former self, haunted by what he read in that email and unable to act on it. While Eddie spirals, Carlton Drake continues his work. Inside the Foundation's state-of-the-art laboratory, scientists are conducting increasingly desperate experiments to bond the 3 remaining symbiotes with human hosts. Drake is not merely a curious scientist. He is a true believer in a dark ideology. He has concluded that Earth is dying, that humanity's future lies in space, and that the symbiotes are the key to human survival beyond this planet. He wants to create a new kind of hybrid being capable of surviving in space, and he is willing to kill as many people as necessary to achieve that goal. The experiments, however, are failing. One test involves placing a small animal, a rabbit, inside a sealed enclosure with one of the yellow symbiotes to observe how the bond forms. At first, the two appear to be compatible. The symbiote latches on and the animal seems to grow stronger. But shortly afterward, the rabbit dies. The symbiote has rejected the host. The scientists note the failure and move on to human trials with equally lethal results.
Hey, how are your kids? Let's begin human trials. Good work.
Then, Eddie watches the news. He learns the owner plans to launch another spaceship. He knows if this happens, more people will die. He meets a homeless woman who asks him to buy a newspaper. Eddie buys a paper from her. He then goes to a store. A robber enters and tries to rob the place, but Eddie quietly pays for his items and leaves. Back at the Foundation's lab, Carlton Drake is with the scientist. They are now testing the parasite on a human instead of an animal. But the parasite rejects the human body. It kills the human. A scientist named Dr. Dora Skirth, who has been working inside the lab, watches as person after person dies in these experiments. The guilt becomes too much for her to bear. She knows the experiments are wrong. She knows lives are being destroyed. And she knows that Drake will never stop voluntarily. She needs someone on the outside to expose what is happening. She thinks of Eddie Brock. Dr. Skirth seeks Eddie out and tells him everything. She explains Drake's true motives, his belief that the planet is doomed, and his obsession with creating space-capable hybrid organisms. She tells him about the 4 symbiotes, how one escaped at the crash site and is still unaccounted for, and how the remaining 3 are being used in experiments that are killing people with no consent and no oversight.
I believed in him, and I told myself that it was worth it because we were curing cancer, but now this is different. It's something else.
Go to the cops.
I can't do that.
She begs Eddie to help. At first, he refuses. He is broken, cautious, and no longer trusts himself after the disaster his last act of journalism caused. But Skirth persists, and eventually, Eddie agrees. She sneaks him into the Life Foundation's research facility late one night. Eddie moves through the corridors with his phone, photographing everything, the equipment, the containment units, the documentation of experiments. Then he sees something that stops him cold. Among the human test subjects being held in the lab is a homeless woman he has encountered on the streets of San Francisco. Someone he knows, someone clearly there against her will. Unable to leave her behind, Eddie acts impulsively. He smashes through the glass containment unit to free her. In doing so, he disturbs one of the symbiotes, the largest and most powerful of the 3 remaining specimens. As the woman is freed, the symbiote detaches from her body and immediately seeks a new host. It finds Eddie. The sensation is overwhelming and disorienting. Eddie feels the organism coursing through him as he flees the lab, pursued by Foundation security guards. But something is different now. He runs faster than he ever has, leaps farther, and moves with a power that defies normal human capability. He escapes into the night and makes it back to his apartment, though he has no idea what has just happened to him. Back at his apartment, the symptoms begin in earnest. Eddie is ravenously hungry. He consumes everything in his refrigerator, drinks enormous quantities of water, and still feels hollow. His body temperature fluctuates wildly. His face contorts in ways that frighten him. He calls Anne in a panic, despite their broken relationship, and insists on meeting her. When they do, Eddie's behavior is bizarre and alarming. At a restaurant, he raids other diners' plates, claiming the food is not giving him enough energy. He climbs into a lobster tank and begins eating the live lobsters. Anne, convinced he's having some kind of medical crisis, gets her new boyfriend, a doctor named Dan Lewis, to run a scan on Eddie. After Eddie is sent home, he's told they'll call him with the results. Meanwhile, back at the Foundation, the owner discovers that a scientist secretly helped Eddie enter the lab. Furious, he punishes her by exposing her to a parasite. At home, Eddie begins to feel unusually aggressive. When his neighbor plays loud music, Eddie asks him to turn it down, but the neighbor ignores him. Venom reacts angrily, frightening the neighbor. Just then, security guards arrive. They are sent by Carlton Drake, who has learned that his most powerful symbiote has escaped.
Hey, Eddie.
Who the hell is this guy?
I'm gonna need Mr. Drake's property back.
Oh.
What are you doing?
The symbiote, which introduces itself to Eddie as Venom, takes partial control of Eddie's body to fight off the attackers. Enormous black tendrils extend from Eddie's skin. His body transforms into a hulking, monstrous figure. Venom is vast, powerful, and utterly without mercy. He tears through the security team, biting off the head of one attacker and hurling others across the room. Eddie watches all of this happen from somewhere inside himself, horrified and fascinated in equal measure. The two escapes, diving off a bridge into the bay below, and the symbiote slowly retreats back beneath Eddie's skin. Later, the two begin to communicate, a strange internal dialogue between host and parasite.
We need Carlton Drake's rocket. You remember him?
How do you even know about that?
I know everything, Eddie.
You do?
Venom explains his origins. He was brought from space by the Life Foundation's spacecraft. He was separated from his kind and has been looking for a suitable host. He found one in Eddie, someone whose biology is uniquely compatible with his own. Eddie, for his part, is not particularly pleased with the arrangement. Despite Eddie's reluctance, he and Venom begin to work together, both because they have no choice and because, gradually, something approaching mutual respect begins to form between them. Venom, it turns out, is not simply a mindless killing machine. He has opinions, preferences, and a dry, savage sense of humor. He also has a clear understanding of what Drake is planning. Eddie manages to get the photographic evidence he gathered at the lab to his former editor, scaling the building with Venom's help and breaking in through a window. But Drake's forces arrive again, and another violent confrontation ensues.
Hold the fire!
During the chaos, Anne arrives and witnesses Eddie's transformed state. Shaken, she insists on bringing him back to the hospital, where Dan uses a specialized magnetic resonance procedure to temporarily separate Venom from Eddie's body. Separated from Venom, Eddie feels human again and vulnerable. Drake's men waste no time. They seize Eddie and bring him before Drake, who has been bonded with a symbiote of his own, a rival parasite known as Riot, which has been traveling from host to host across the world ever since the spacecraft crash.
You know, Brock, I have no use for you.
Riot is the alpha among the symbiotes, more powerful than Venom and fully aligned with Drake's goals. Together, Drake and Riot intend to launch a new spacecraft to retrieve the rest of the symbiote race from their homeworld and bring them to Earth, a full-scale invasion that would end with humanity being consumed. Drake orders his men to execute Eddie, but Venom, now inhabiting Anne's body, arrives just in time to save him. The symbiote transfers back into Eddie, and the two are reunited. Anne and Eddie share a brief, emotionally complicated moment of reconnection before turning their attention to the real crisis. Carlton Drake has overridden every safety protocol and is preparing to launch the spacecraft personally. Workers attempt to warn him that the vessel is not ready, that launching it under these conditions will be catastrophic. Drake kills them. He boards the spacecraft himself, fused with Riot, and initiates the launch sequence. Eddie and Venom pursue him. On the launch platform, as the spacecraft's engines ignite and fire roars around them, the two symbiotes clash in a brutal, apocalyptic battle. Riot's superior strength and Drake's single-minded fanaticism make them a formidable pair. Venom is pushed to his limits, thrown back repeatedly, and nearly overcome. But he refuses to stop. He knows what is at stake, not just for Eddie, but for every living thing on Earth. In a desperate final act, Venom grabs hold of the spacecraft as it begins to lift off. He tears open the fuel line, causing a catastrophic fuel leak that ignites in a massive explosion. The spacecraft is destroyed. Drake and Riot are killed in the blast. Eddie falls from the fireball into the ocean far below. The next morning, Eddie surfaces, alive, miraculously so. He searches the wreckage and finds no sign of Venom. He tells Anne, when she arrives, that the symbiote did not survive. She thinks she hears something, an almost imperceptible voice beneath Eddie's words, and she asks him directly. He denies it, but Venom is alive. Barely, but alive. He chose to stay. He chose Eddie. As Eddie walks away from the waterfront, the two begin to talk. Their conversation is low, conspiratorial, and quietly funny. Eddie acknowledges that Venom can stay, but there will be rules. Venom cannot simply eat people. He cannot harm the innocent. If he wants to consume human beings, he has to limit himself to those who prey on others, criminals, predators, people who hurt the vulnerable. Venom considers this for a moment and then asks, pragmatically, how they will know who the bad people are. Eddie tells him simply, the people who hurt others, the ones who prey on the innocent. Almost immediately, they pass the convenience store Eddie has visited earlier in the film, and they spot the same armed robber from before attempting another stick-up. Venom emerges. The robber's career ends there. Life begins to normalize. Eddie gets his reporting job back, slowly rebuilds his reputation, and starts working his way back towards something resembling a stable existence. In the final scene before the credits, he is shown conducting an interview with a notorious serial killer, a composed, confident journalist once again. The camera pulls back, and somewhere beneath the surface, Venom watches and waits. The film closes on a tantalizing mid-credit scene that sets up future installments, hinting at even darker forces on the horizon, but that story is yet to come.